finally, the other thing that's interesting is if you look at the link I gave down here from my information, this shows that I didn't necessarily know this idea. I had to do research to find out. So at home, another thing that could be dangerous is that ceiling lights, those are the things that hang from the ceiling, especially if they have glass, or tall furniture such as bookcases or bookshelves. They're very dangerous. And how I got that information was from this article. So if you're a clever student, you might say, well, you know what, maybe there's other information from this article that could help for the assignment. So I'm going to click on this article and I'm going to go to the article and I can take a quick look. Now, one of the ways to look at an article quickly is look to see if there's any headings or subheadings so I get an idea of how the article is broken down. In this case, the next big test, this is telling us when they're going to use the warning system again. That's not as helpful, I think, as knowing how it would help. So I would stick with this first half of the article to read. Also, another thing you can do is look for keywords. So if I want to find out which part had the ceiling lights, I could press Control F on my keyboard. And control is spelled like this, CTRL. Up here, CTRL, that's the control button on the bottom of your keyboard near the bottom left corner. And if you press that at the same time as the letter F, okay, you will actually get this search bar, and it means it's going to find that word on the web page and it will highlight it for you. So watch this. I want to try to find the word light, and look at that. It highlights it for me. I don't even have to spend all my time reading this article. I can go right to the part that my teacher talked about. And what's cool here is if this is where I got the information about that, maybe I'm going to take a couple extra seconds and just read this whole paragraph. So it says here, had the system been in place back in 1989, during the Loma Prieta, well, I don't know how to pronounce that, earthquake, people in downtown San Francisco could have gotten a warning of 15 to 18 seconds before experiencing the damage. This is very hopeful for me because if this warning is only a couple seconds, then maybe they'll tell me more information about why that's helpful. And it says here, that would be enough time for drivers to pull off the road or for people indoors to jump under a table, and then also enough time for hazards like falling lights and bookshelves to be avoided. And this is a cool statistic here. More than half of all the injuries in this earthquake that happened in San Francisco were actually related to hazards like falling lights and bookshelves at home. Half of the injuries were related to people just being underneath something that they maybe could have moved away from if they knew it was about to happen. So this is a really good statistic to use to show my point if I'm trying to get that higher mark in geography for thinking and inquiry. Okay. Finally, the last thing I'm going to show you, if you're a student who really wants to make the most of this course, you're not just looking for a pass, you're looking for knowledge, you're looking for research skills. I'm going to show you one last trick. Over here in Google search here, if you're looking for information, sometimes I like to be really specific with my search. So for example, I know I'm looking for seconds of warning, right? I don't want a warning system that's going to be minutes or hours. I want seconds is the key word. I'm going to use the word "and" in capital letters because that tells the computer I'm going to be searching for articles that have this and something else, but that other word can be anywhere in the article. Now I'm going to put down earthquake and hospital because for me that's a really hard one. I don't know what it's like to be in a hospital other than the obvious hiding under a desk or, you know, that kind of stuff. Like I can't think of anything that's really specific to a hospital. So this is where those students who are looking for, you know, to get the most out of this course, take a try this out, look for these keywords and watch what happens. Because I've made my search really specific, I'm going to get a lot more specific articles. And if I look here, right, when I skim the headlines, I see here 80 seconds of warning for Tokyo. Okay, earthquake detection technology. Now, of course, I'm going to check to make sure the language is not too hard because sometimes when we do our own research, we can find out that an article is too difficult to understand. But in this case, I'm going to look here, and I knew the keyword I was looking for was hospital. So I'm going to use that find button, Control F, to just take a quick look and see if it can highlight hospital for me, just to see if it gives me a tiny piece of information I could use. So I'm going to go here, and oops, I think it's because I have to close this. What's going on here? Oops. Oh, read the whole story, sorry. Okay, so now that I've got that there, I'm going to go to Control F. I wrote the word hospital. I'm going to press enter, and look at that. It highlighted the word for me. Now I'm going to start at the top here for context and look and say, while the system can only furnish warnings from a few seconds to a minute or two before serious shaking starts, this can be enough time for people to take cover, stop performing surgery in a hospital, exit an elevator, or pull over to the side of the road. Holy cow, performing a surgery. Can you imagine if someone was doing heart surgery or something where it's very, very precise and suddenly an earthquake came and it's like, oops, I'm sorry, I just cut open your heart. That's terrifying. I never thought of that. That is absolutely terrifying. Yes, I would like that doctor who's holding a knife to be able to know that there's an earthquake coming. Wouldn't you? So this is an example where that little tiny piece of information really is a better idea, a better inquiry answer to my question than just saying, oh, I'm going to, tell people an earthquake's coming. Because that isn't very specific to a hospital life. What is specifically dangerous about the earth moving at a hospital? So now that I have this idea here, or even exiting an elevator, I never thought of that. I definitely would not want to be in an elevator if there was an earthquake. I would want to take those 20 seconds to get off at the next floor. So I'm going to take this information, I'm going to add it into my area for hospital. So I could say, it could help the doctor know to stop performing surgery with a sharp knife, because the floor could move and then they will cut me. Now the last thing I would do for this part to get the highest mark is show me that you got it from somewhere else, right? So this is where you would take the URL at the top. This is the URL. It's just the address of where you got the information. You could put it here in this bracket. Boom. You don't need to source it or anything like that. We're just very simple here. We're just putting it in. And now when I look at this student's work, I'm going to see, wow, they have some ideas that were their own. Some ideas came from yesterday's article, and maybe a few ideas came from a little bit of research. And that's a student that's really looking at different ways to answer the question. They're looking at all the different skills to help them come up with the best ideas. Anyway, I hope this helps you get an idea of how to do the assignment in different levels, of how to take the most out of it depending on how much you want to learn and how much work you want to put into this course. Thanks for listening. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask me in Google Comments or email me. Have a great weekend.